Now we're going to talk about the state of collaboration. So every year at the Collaborative Journalism Summit, we have kicked off with a discussion about what's happening. What is the current state of collaboration as it relates to the journalism industry? And we're going to do that again this year. We've done a couple of videos in the past, but this year I will give you a presentation. We'll also drop another link, there'll be a lot of links in the chat, to a Medium post that we just published that goes into more depth on what I'm going to talk about in just a moment here. And if you have any questions for me, go ahead, drop them in the Q&A, and I'll get to them as soon as I am done talking. So let's take a look. So as I mentioned, every year we do the state of collaboration. This is the 2021 state. So first of all, what's happening? What's happening out there? There are four key things we've identified. And part of these four things came from our research with the community, our community of collaboration managers. We asked them, what do you think the current state is? This is also drawn from things that we've seen by studying and watching what's happening in this space, watching what you're all doing. So we're going to talk about the pandemic. We're going to talk about how standalone collaboratives are continuing to grow. We're going to talk about funding, and we'll also take a look around the world at different global efforts. One thing I'll note is that, a lot of what we're going to talk about here is US based. So I just want to note that because a lot of our work has been focused in the US, although that's changing, and you're going to hear more about that actually later today. So pandemic effect, this is the first thing. So I mentioned this when I opened the summit a few minutes ago, that the pandemic really showed us the power of collaboration. And there were many, many new partnerships launched to help address information need gaps that became obviously clear when COVID-19 began to ricochet around the world. One collaboration manager said to me, it showed her that this is essential work. So that is something that I think will, continue to help folks in media understand that working together is part of the future. Additionally, the pandemic made collaboration easier for some people because of the rapid shift to remote communication. So as many collaboration managers on this call probably know, getting collaborative partners to work together is not easy. We had a session this morning that started an hour before the summit where we gathered a lot of those folks to talk about exactly how they do it. It's not easy, but the really rapid shift to remote communication and forced adoption of tools and really leveling of the playing field. Everyone was at home, everyone was with their families quarantined, and we were all figuring out how to communicate and how to talk to each other from these isolated spaces. So the next thing I'll talk about is these what I'm calling permanent or semi-permanent efforts, or standalone collaboratives. So in the United States, we have continued to see the growth of these permanent or semi-permanent efforts, where there's a nonprofit formed or an entity formed whose sole mission is to help advance collaboration and collaborative reporting. We've seen the announcement of, gosh, if I counted, I didn't count, but it's more than a half dozen in the United States. And you're going to hear about several of those today and more over the coming days. And I know that there are more on deck. And so that's something that that's a current trend. That's one thing that's continuing to happen. And of the ones that I know that will launch and the ones that are under discussion, I think you'll probably see another 4 to 10 launched in the next year as well. Those standalone organizations often employ their own project manager. They're doing some fundraising together, and they're also going a little bit beyond reporting too, which we'll get to in just a moment. So funding, we've talked about funding in the state of collaboration. I think every state of collaboration, and it's always one of the first questions people ask me. So how do you fund this? The Corporation for Public Broadcasting has long been a funder of collaboration in the United States. I think 11 years now. The Knight Foundation has also funded collaboration in different aspects over the years. But recently, especially over the last 12 to 18 months, we've seen some other big names join. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Walton Family Foundation, Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, Google and Facebook are all joining. And that will probably continue and expand. So I also want to touch on global efforts. So as I said a minute ago, a lot of our focus has been studying United States-based collaboration, although we are now working in other places around the world to study what's happening outside of our borders. Global and cross-border collaboration has become really essential over the last decade. And that's thanks in part to organizations like the OCCRP and ICIJ, both of whom will present at this year's summit. Also GIJN and IFCJ and Forbidden Stories and other networks that exist to help promote and help execute cross-border work. And that's going to continue. Part of, that has grown in part because of issues with press freedom, also technological changes, and a lot of coordination on fact checking and misinformation, which has led to other efforts. Europe and Latin America have both been the hotbeds of collaboration, but we're seeing more work in Africa and importantly, more work in Asia too. You're going to hear from Patrick Bowler with the Pangolin report shortly, which was a collaborative effort across Asia. And we're seeing more of those. Also, there's fact-checking misinformation efforts in Asia, as well as some investment recently by the Judith Nielsen Institute, specifically in supporting collaborative work in parts of Asia. So that's a huge place to watch and see collaboration grow. So what's next? What's next? So we think that this part of the industry will continue to grow and it's getting more sophisticated. It's maturing, which is great. We're not, deciding if it's okay to work together anymore. And we have a lot of our processes somewhat figured out. And now we're doing things that are more sophisticated together. I think that's going to lead to more hires, more partnership opportunities. And as we said a minute ago, one of the current trends is these standalone collaboratives that is going to continue, and there will be more of them too. I talked about funding, so that grant seeking, that collaborative grant seeking or collaborative revenue pursuit will continue and will accelerate. I mentioned some of the big names in funding that have invested in this space. I expect that we'll see more community foundations, regional funders, and local funders step up. Hopefully that's not just a wish, because I've been hoping for that. But I do think we're going to see that come to fruition more so over the next few years. And that's being led in part by organizations like INN, which has done a fantastic job in working together with its members and pursuing funding to support their collaborative work. Vanessa de la Torre mentioned to me that she thought that we would see more collaboration on the business side and especially in organizational change in DEI work. And I think she's spot on. We look at efforts like Maynard Open News and ONA's collaboration with Vision 25 as an example of this. Additionally, as cohorts like Table Stakes or the Facebook Accelerator have been successful, that's a form of collaboration, and it's mostly been on the business side, and we expect that that will continue and grow. Collaboration has been going upstream in the reporting process. So by now, most of you probably know how to do a temporary separate project where it's going to be a one-time thing. We're all going to report on the same topic. We're going to publish at the same time and maybe share each other's stories. We're going further up the ideation process. And then co-branding and marketing will get better beyond just a tagline. There will be more efforts to showcase that this is a collaboration, because don't forget, early research from Crosscheck in France showed that the audience trusted information more when they knew it came from so many people. So I just want to say thank you to wrap this up to our collaboration manager community, including Heather Bryant, Dana Kester, Karen Magnuson, Eric Marsh, Carrie Mitchell, Jean San, Sandra Swoboda, Bridget Thorson, and Vanessa de la Torre for their input on this presentation. And you can read more at medium.com/Center for Cooperative Media or our collaborative journalism website.